directly begin. अपने मोबाइल फोन कृपया साइलेंट पे कर दें. Good evening and welcome to this press conference. We have with us Honorable Finance Minister and Corporate Affairs Minister, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman ji, to brief us about the decisions taken at the 53rd meeting of the GST Council held in New Delhi. The state finance ministers and union territories had joined in there. I also have on the dais with us here the Union Minister for State for Finance, Shri Pankaj Chaudhary ji, Revenue Secretary Shri Sanjay Malhotra ji, Chairperson CBIC Shri Sanjay Kumar Agarwal ji, and members of the GST Council Shri Shashank Priya and Shri Vivek Ranjan. I would request Honorable Finance Minister to brief us on the outcomes, and we would take questions thereafter. Madam, please.
Namaskar. Good evening. Today, we had invited the state finance ministers with two things in our mind. As you know, the pre-budget consultations are going on, and it is a normal practice that we call the state finance ministers also to participate in the pre-budget consultation. So the first half of this day, in the morning session, pre-lunch, we had the pre-budget consultation with finance ministers. Post-lunch, we held the GST Council meeting. As you know, the last meeting was held sometime in October last year. And because of elections and states being busy with the campaign, just as we were busy as well, we thought it was better utilized if the time was used for both the budget consultation and also for the GST Council. And in this GST Council, therefore, I must upfront tell you that while there were a lot of issues on which the Fitment Committee and the Legal Committee had worked and readied quite a few agenda, considering that we were meeting only for half a day, some agenda were taken up, considerable number for today. But even as we concluded today, we acknowledged the fact that we have ready agenda points which we could not take up today for want of time, which we'll take up in the next meeting. And therefore, it was also decided, keeping in mind one or two matters of urgency, which the states also had in their mind, to hold a GST meeting at the earliest after today, which will be sometime post the budget session, maybe sometime middle of August, before the end of August is when the next meeting will happen, where the agenda which we couldn't complete today it wasn't tabled also, but just to let you know that there was enough agenda. Some of them got to be discussed today, and the rest which could not be put on the agenda list itself will be carried on for the next meeting. But today, the 53rd GST Council meeting has actually taken a lot of decisions on trade facilitation, easing compliance burden, and giving relief to taxpayers in terms of compliance easing out. So this will benefit the traders, MSMEs, and taxpayers, is my strong view. I will just flag those issues and not get into the details. Later on, you can always ask us the question and we'll go about. First one is that there was a decision taken today and the GST Council recommended waiving interest and penalties for demand notices that have been issued under Section 73 of the GST Act. What are the items which are under Section 73? cases not involving fraud, suppression, or misstatements. So, for all those notices which were issued under Section 73, for the fiscal years 2017-18, 18-19, and 19-20, the Council has recommended waiving interest and penalties on the demand notices which have been served. And this will be applicable in cases where the taxpayer pays the full amount of tax demanded in the notice by 31/3/2025. So notices were issued for those 3 financial years under Section 73 of the CGST Act. So if the taxpayer comes forward to pay the total amount before 31st March 2025, he shall not have to pay the interest or the penalties which have been normally put on them. So that relief has been given. Again, the Council has recommended, I'm going to the next item. Council has recommended that the time limit to avail input tax credit in respect of any invoice or debit note under Section 16(4) of the CGST Act through any GSTR 3B return filed up to 30/11/2021 for the financial years 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, and 2021 may be deemed to be 30/11/2021. So, for the same requisite amendment, retrospectively with effect from 1st July 2017, the Council has made a recommendation. Moving to the next item. In order to reduce government litigation, the Council has recommended a monetary limit of 20 lakh for GST Appellate Tribunal, 1 crore for High Court, and 2 crore for Supreme Court for filing of appeals. Filing of appeals by the department before these legal fora. Specific amounts, I repeat, the Council's recommended amounts, recommended monetary limits are 20 lakh for GST Appellate Tribunal, 1 crore for High Court, and 2 crore for Supreme Court for filing of appeals by the department. So I go to the next one. Council has also recommended that the maximum amount for pre-deposit, maximum amount of pre-deposit for filing appeal before the appellate authority shall be reduced from 25 crores CGST and 25 crores SGST to 20 crores CGST. CGST is 25 crore, comes to 20. SGST is 25 crore, comes to 20 crore. And that is the maximum amount of pre-deposit for filing appeals before the appellate authority. Also, the pre-deposit for filing of appeal before the appellate tribunal will be reduced from 20% with a maximum amount of 50 crores CGST and 50 crores SGST to 10% with a maximum amount of 20 crores CGST and rupees 20 crore SGST. So that is a recommendation. There are 1 or 2 which I am not stating it here for want of time, but the complete decisions will be sent to you by mail. Council has also decided and recommended that amending the provisions of CGST Act to provide that the 3-month period for filing appeals in the GST Appellate Tribunal will start from a day which shall be notified by the government. So, the president of the tribunal has assumed office, and the said period for filing filing appeal by the taxpayers will expire on 5th August 2024. But there is a need that we need to give an extension, so we've come up with this decision. The next one I'm moving over to is, in order to help small taxpayers, the Council recommended extending the time limit to furnish the detail and the returns in the form GSTR 4 from 30th April at present. At the moment it is 30th April. The Council has recommended that it be extended to 30th June. And this is for GSTR 4, those returns which have to be filed. This will apply for returns for the financial year 2024-25 onwards. The next one I'm moving on to, the Council has recommended requisite amendment in the CGST rules to provide that interest would not be charged on an amount which is available in the electronic cash ledger on the due date of filing the GSTR 3B return and is debited while filing the said return. This will ease interest burden on the taxpayer. I'm moving to the next decision, which is again taxpayer friendly. The Council has recommended again insertion of a functionality by way of Form GSTR 1A, which would allow a taxpayer to add any particulars of current tax period which he may have missed out on in reporting in the GSTR 1. So if he missed out on reporting in GSTR 1, there shall now be a form called GSTR 1A in which he'll be able to do that for the current tax period or to amend any particulars which are already declared in GSTR 1 for the current tax period before filing GSTR 3B return for the current tax period. So one gets filed if there's a missed out fact or you've done some error, you can correct it in the GSTR 1A. You can't, of course, go back for the current tax period is what is being said. Then there is going to be a rolling out of biometric based Aadhaar authentication in an all India basis. You know that we ran a pilot in Gujarat, also a pilot in Puducherry. There have been very good inputs coming out of it. So this will help us to combat fraudulent input tax credit claims made through fake invoices. In the cases where the applicant had opted for Aadhaar authentication and where the case has been identified on the basis of data analytics and risk parameters on the system, these have been tried in the GST Suvidha Kendras, and this will be taken up on an all India basis. So the GST Council has today recommended to roll out the biometric based Aadhaar authentication of registration of applicants on an all India basis in a phased manner. So if these are matters which came through the legal committee, there were a couple of clarifications issued by the fitment committee. They've issued quite a few, but I'm highlighting one or two. Council recommended to prescribe a uniform rate of 12% on all milk cans, meaning steel, iron, aluminium, which are irrespective of the use. They are called milk cans, but wherever they are used, that will be the rate applicable so that no disputes arise out of it. They have a standard shape, so that will determine what is a milk can and what is not. Then Council also recommended to prescribe a uniform GST rate of 12% on all carton boxes and cases of both corrugated and non-corrugated paper or paper board. This will in particular help the apple growers of Himachal Pradesh, the apple growers of J&K, whose request it has been for quite some time. The Fitment Committee has also recommended it now. There are details about HSN codes on this matter, but simple step is corrugated, non-corrugated, carton boxes made of paper or corrugated paper, non-corrugated paper or paper board will all benefit from this. Council also has clarified and recommended that the clarification be put out on that all types of sprinklers, including fire water sprinklers, will attract 12% GST, and to regularize the past practice on an as is whereas basis. Coming to the next point of solar cookers, Council recommended to prescribe 12% on all solar cookers, whether it has single or dual energy source. On services, there are just 2 points which I'll highlight to you. Services provided by Indian Railways to the common man, sale of platform tickets, facility of retiring rooms, waiting rooms, cloakroom services, battery operated car services are being exempted from GST. Further, intra-railway supplies are also being exempted. The other, which is very important, service by way of hostel accommodation is presently not exempt, which are being provided for students if they are outside of educational institutions. Am I right? If they are within an educational institution, they are already exempt. Please let there be clarity. Hostels which are for students which are within a resident which are within an educational institutions are already exempt. Now, hostels which are for students but outside of an educational institutions are also getting exempt. But listen to this, please. The measure of relief for students and working professionals, Council has recommended to exempt accommodation services having a value of supply up to 20,000 per person per month. So it can be hostels run by Samaj, so that poor people belonging to their Samaj come there, stay there for 20,000 rupees per person per month. They will not be worried about GST at all. The condition, of course, is those provided these services are supplied for a minimum continuous period of 90 days. So it's not like, I don't want to take the name of branded names. It's not as if tourists who come and stay for 3-4 days and go away, no GST. No. It is meant for students, and therefore if they come and 90 continuous days if they stay, yes, they are exempt. Up to 20,000 rupees per person per month. So hostels run for people who come from rural areas and stay in some hostel which is run by either communities or social welfare organizations, not of the government, even private. They are not going to be touched by GST, provided it is 20,000 per person per month and provided that is continuously occupied by that person for 90 days at least. I've just highlighted a few points, both from the legal and fitment committees. More can be answered even as you ask questions. There were quite a few new ministers. There Was there a list of the committees? Some committees have had newer ministers taking charge in the place of ministers who were earlier there. As we go along, I'll mention it. Of immediate interest will be the Rate Rationalization Committee, for which the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, Sambad Chaudhary, has been given charge.
Ma'am,
That's
should we open the floor for questions now? I'll request all of you to begin, and as and when you ask your question, please specify your name and organization. I begin in the center, 124. Ma'am, 124, the first question.
Ma'am, good evening. Shishir from Hindu Business Line. My question is about this online gaming, casinos and horse racing, because in the last meeting, there was a recommendation that it will be reviewed after 6 months, the progress. So has there any decision taken? Because so many notices have been issued to companies. So is there any thing?
For discussion, nor was it taken today. It wasn't on the agenda also. It wasn't on the agenda. It didn't come for discussion. No, it wasn't taken up.
To the left, 265.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening. Ma'am, this is regarding the, in terms of the appellate tribunal, you had mentioned that 5th of August would be the date of filing, the extended date of filing. Just to clarify the operationality of the appellate tribunals, we understand that the principal bench has a head appointed, but in terms of the operationality of the other benches, could we get some clarity? Like the day?
Revenue Secretary is going to sit with the one of the judges of the Supreme Court and the committee, which otherwise is the competent authority to choose members who will be in various benches. That meeting is yet to take place. It will happen soon, and the moment that is done, people will be appointed, and then it can all activate.
266 next to the left, ma'am.
राजीव हूँ दैनिक जागरण से। मेरा सवाल है कि जो आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन के लिए जो आपने नियम लाया है, तो ये जो पायलट प्रोजेक्ट होगा गुजरात और पुडुचेरी में, ये तो फर्स्ट की ये कब से लागू होगा? दूसरी बात, अभी जो जीएसटीएन पे जाकर रजिस्ट्रेशन कराना होता है तो वो ऑनलाइन भी हो जाता है, अगर तो अब क्या फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन उनको कराना होगा?
नहीं, ऑनलाइन में जो वेरिफिकेशन हो रही है ठीक हो रही है, होने दो, उसका कोई बदलाव नहीं कर रहे हैं हम, वो चालू रहेगा। मगर ये सुविधा स्टेशन जो सर्विस सेंटर बनता है, उसमें जाकर के इकट्ठा सभी जो रिक्वायरमेंट है, आधार है, आपके बायोमेट्रिक वेरिफिकेशन है, आपके पेपर्स है, सब इकट्ठा देने में गुजरात में पायलट प्रोजेक्ट का एक्सपीरियंस बेस करते हुए मैं बोल रही हूँ, इन अ मैटर ऑफ 15-20 मिनट्स ऑल पेपर वर्क इज डन एंड रजिस्ट्रेशन हो जाता है नया कंपनियों का। ऑनलाइन में करने के बाद बोर्ड्स में भी बाद में जब वेरिफिकेशन सही नहीं हुआ या कुछ गड़बड़ है, बायोमेट्रिक ठीक से नहीं हुआ, फिर ये फिजिकली वेरीफाई करने के लिए आप जा रही हो। मगर ये सुविधा पोर्टल के सुविधा सेंटर के द्वारा जो होता है, सब एक ही जगह इकट्ठा 15-20 मिनट्स के अंदर हो जाता है, फिर उसमें फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन का आवश्यकता नहीं होता। सो एवरीथिंग हैपन्स इमीडिएटली, ज्यादा टाइम ना खर्च करते हुए, अनलेस बियॉन्ड दैट वेरिफिकेशन कुछ और डेटा मिसमैच होता है तो दोबारा उनसे ताल्लुक रखना पड़ता। सो इट एक्चुअली, इनफैक्ट इन द मीटिंग टुडे, आंध्र प्रदेश का मिनिस्टर जो नया आया है, उनका ये कहना था कि 2-3 लेवल पर स्टडी करने के बाद उनका एक्सपीरियंस ये दिखाता है कि ऐसे फिजिकली आकर वेरीफाई करके करने वाले के कारण फेक रजिस्ट्रेशन कम हो रही है। गुजरात का भी एक्सपीरियंस वही प्रूव करता है कि वंस दिस काइंड ऑफ अ वेरिफिकेशन विद बायोमेट्रिक ऑथेंटिकेशन हैपेंस, फेक कंपनीज का रजिस्ट्रेशन बिल्कुल नहीं होता। इसीलिए ये मेथड अभी पायलट टेस्ट के द्वारा और आंध्रा के स्टडी के द्वारा हमें ये जानकारी मिल रही है कि दिस विल बी फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन और फेकरी का हम कम कर सकते हैं।
नहीं, एक सवाल
272
जो
next.
कैंपस आउटसाइड कैंपस को जो एग्जाम्पशन मिलेगा जीएसटी से, उससे स्टूडेंट्स को क्या फायदा होगा? कुछ
बिल्कुल स्टूडेंट्स का फायदा होगा, क्योंकि कम्युनिटीज बहुत सारे स्टेट्स में उनके रूरल बच्चे के लिए सुविधाजनक सस्ते में हॉस्टल्स दे रहे हैं। हर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन में रेजिडेंशियल फैसिलिटी नहीं रहता, इसीलिए रूरल एरिया से जो बच्चे सिटीज में आकर पढ़ने के लिए आते हैं उनके लिए सस्ते में जब अकोमोडेशन मिलता है और उसके ऊपर जीएसटी जब नहीं है, उनको फेवरेबली देखना चाहिए। बच्चों का सुविधा ही है वो।
Good evening.
What? When will be the rollout of this? I already said that it will happen in a phased manner all over the country. From now.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Ruchi Bhatia from Bloomberg News. I have two quick questions. One on the rate rationalization GOM. By when will the new GOM with the new members be able to submit their report? And the second question on, you also met the state finance ministers for pre-budget consultations. Can you throw some light on some of the key recommendations if you can?
See, the rate rationalization group of ministers, since the time it was constituted, has been working. It's not as if it never worked. So quite a lot of substantial work has happened. Now, because you have a new deputy chief minister taking charge of it, I would want to give him that time for him to understand through his team as to how far they have gone. What was decided in the council today was, अगले बार जब we meet, ग्रुप ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स, वो नया डेप्यूटी चीफ मिनिस्टर जो चेयर है अभी, वो काउंसिल को ये रिपोर्ट पेश करें कि स्टेटस क्या है अभी, कितना क्या काम हुआ है, रेशनलाइजेशन के काम में कितने आगे बढ़ चुके हैं और काम क्या बचा हुआ है। ऐसे करके आज का स्टेटस विस्तार से अगले मीटिंग में देने के लिए डिसीजन लिया गया। उस मीटिंग में ये भी करेंगे, हम रेशनलाइजेशन के ऊपर चर्चा शुरू करेंगे। ये नहीं है कि उसी मीटिंग में रेशनलाइजेशन का सभी डिसीजन हो जाएगा, नहीं, क्योंकि पहले बार जीओएम के द्वारा एक प्रेजेंटेशन होगा, चाहे वो रिपोर्ट ड्राफ्ट है, फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट है या फाइनल ड्राफ्ट है, वो मुझे मालूम नहीं, वो ग्रुप ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स को मालूम, वो पेश करेंगे, उसके ऊपर चर्चा होगा। सो वील स्टार्ट द डिस्कशन ऑन रेट rationalization, and that committee will give us a status of where the rationalization work has progressed, how far it has progressed, what has been achieved in it till now, how much more they will have to do. So essentially in the next meeting, we start that discussion.
One.
Huh? Yes. Huh. It was a good discussion. A lot of, every minister has given their speech in written also. Northeast ministers were of the view that DONER, Department of Northeast Affairs, will have to work together with them so that they get more resources for their use. State-specific suggestions were there for more infrastructure. This was promised earlier. Would you want to continue to do it, or will you do it now? You know, things like that. And also from the point of view of devolution, the discussion which has to happen in the Finance Commission, while all ministers agree it has to happen in the Finance Commission, they mentioned that also, that it has to be taken up with the Finance Commission. Broadly.
127 next.
Just want to let you know that there are 11 new ministers in the GST Council. 11. So Andhra Pradesh has a new minister, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Odisha, Rajasthan, Sikkim, Telangana and Tripura. 11 states have new ministers.
127 to the left.
मैम तरुण शर्मा फ्रॉम जी बिजनेस। मैम आपने ये तो क्लैरिफाई कर दिया कि ऑनलाइन गेमिंग पे कोई आज डिस्कशन नहीं हुआ, लेकिन मैम कंफ्यूजन जो है वो सेक्शन 11A को CGST एक्ट जो इंसर्शन है जिसमें आपने कहा कि हमारे पास पावर होनी चाहिए, हमने जो पेनल्टीज लगाई हैं उनको लेविड करने की और हटाने की, तो मैम इस पे आप क्लैरिफाई कर पाएंगे?
नहीं, आज मुझे ऑनलाइन गेम के ऊपर कोई कुछ कहना नहीं है।
मैम इस पे ये सेक्शन 11A को CGST एक्ट में इंसर्शन का क्या मीनिंग होगा?
You can go on asking me any number of questions on it. Since in the council today we didn't discuss anything, I'm not empowered to say anything on it.
मैम सेकंड
Next question, 56.
मैम
आलोक प्रियदर्शी फ्रॉम CNBC आवाज। मैम इंडस्ट्री की एक मांग थी फर्टिलाइजर पर GST एग्जाम करने को लेकर, फिटमेंट कमेटी से शायद प्रपोजल गया था, तो क्या रीजन रहा फर्टिलाइजर पर जो GST एग्जाम करने की मांग थी नहीं होने की? क्या इसको आपने ये इसके ऊपर क्या डिसीजन हुआ है?
Do you want to talk?
इसके ऊपर में जो निर्णय काउंसिल ने किया है वो उससे, क्योंकि ये एक बड़ा मुद्दा है, तो इसके ऊपर में जो GOM रिकॉन्स्टिट्यूट किया है उसको काउंसिल ने रेफर किया है। और जो आपने 11A का जैसे FM ने कहा, ये पहले से जो हम कई सारे केसेस में एज इज वेरियस बेसिस पे हम ऑलरेडी रेगुलराइज कर रहे थे, इसका संबंध उससे है, इसका ऑनलाइन गेमिंग से कोई ताल्लुक डायरेक्टली नहीं। एज इज वेरियस बेसिस पे जो हम एग्जेम्प्ट करते हैं उससे है।
अगला सवाल 124 सेंटर में मैम।
मैम मैं पीयूष पांडे हूँ TV9 भारतवर्ष से। आपने जो लिटिगेशन के लिए सीमा तय की है बेसिकली ट्राइब्यूनल, हाई कोर्ट और सुप्रीम कोर्ट के लिए, इससे इतर जो नीचे के मसले होंगे वो किस तरह से निपटाए जाएंगे? क्या मीडिएशन से या कोई और तरीका होगा?
इससे इतर आपका क्या प्रश्न? आपका कुछ 20 लाख से नीचे यदि होगा तो हम उसमें अपील में नहीं जाएंगे, तो वो कमिश्नर अपील के लेवल पे जो भी निर्णय हो जाएगा उसको सरकार मान लेगी, जब तक कि वो कोई पॉलिसी रिलेटेड मेजर नहीं, तो उसमें हम अपील नहीं करेंगे आगे। टैक्स पेयर तो अपील कर सकता है, यदि वो संतुष्ट नहीं है तो वो अपील कर सकता है। उसी प्रकार से हाई कोर्ट के लेवल पे, अगर ट्राइब्यूनल के लेवल पे कोई निर्णय हो जाता है जो कि 1 करोड़ से कम राशि का है, तो गवर्नमेंट उसमें अपील में नहीं जाएगी, टैक्स पेयर उसमें अपील में जा सकते।
ये क्या हमारे लिए सरकार?
Number 16 to the left.
Ma'am, Meghna Mittal from Money Control. The Petroleum Minister recently said that they will work towards bringing fuel under GST. What is your view? Is it an uphill task? Could there be a discussion in the coming meetings?
See, today we didn't discuss about it, but I'm still answering your question only to say that petrol and diesel, even when GST was implemented, I distinctly remember Senior Minister then, Shri Arun Jaitley, talking about it, that the proviso exists already in the Act, meaning GST, petrol and diesel can be handled, for which the law has been already embedded. So what is pending is, once the states agree, in the council they have to decide what will be the rate of taxation. Once that decision is taken, it will be put into the Act. So the indication or the intent of this central government, even as the GST was implemented, was eventually sometime petrol and diesel can be brought into the GST. Then we didn't have to go and amend the law and everything else. The provision has already been made that it can be brought into GST. The one and only decision which is therefore expected is for the states to agree and come into the GST Council and then decide what rate they will agree on. So at the moment, the intention of the GST as it was brought in by Shri Arun Jaitley is to have the petrol and diesel in GST. It is up to the states now to say, all right, we'll all come together and get into GST, therefore come into the council and then decide on what will be the rate. So the intent of the central government and intent of my late predecessor was clear. We want the GST to include petrol and diesel, but it's up to the states.
Number 45 to the left.
Any discussion has happened which is with regard to rationalization of GST rate on co-premium insurance?
No.
Insurance co-premium.
271 and then 10.
Hi, ma'am. Good evening. I'm Kriti from Informist Media.
But the point that I want to put before you is, you asked for insurance related, right? The fitment committee has received formal requests only now. So obviously it cannot be taken up in this meeting itself. They'll have to work on it and maybe comes in the next. Maybe. That's not yet they'll have to work on it.
Yeah. Hi, ma'am. Kriti from Informist Media here. So you announced exemption on railway services. Since railways are vast, the services are vast, would you be able to help us understand what kind of revenue foregoing would happen post this? Would it be minuscule, significant, and if there is an estimate figure on it?
We don't have the numbers, but I may tell you that these services were already exempt. It was only, about a year ago that we brought them on their request under the GST regime. Now we have gone back, so the revenue foregone will not be much.
264 at the back left.
GST rationalization only. So the discussion on the rate rationalization has been going on since 2021. So could you please share what specific items are being discussed for this? This
What
is Haris from News
specific?
18. So
What specific?
items are being discussed for rate
See,
rationalization
as
as of
I
now?
said, the committee, which is a group of ministers, will do a presentation to the council in the next meeting. Then we'll know what issues are being taken up by them, how far they've progressed, and what will be left for them to do.
We'll take the last question here, number 10.
Ma'am, I am Monica from the New Indian Express. Ma'am, a lot of companies, they have filed writ petition against the council's decision related to GST on corporate guarantee. Was that taken up in today's meeting?
So corporate guarantee here, it is being clarified that in case it is for services or goods where whole ITC is available, the corporate guarantee will not attract a GST. So that is a major relief, because most of the goods, services are taxable and they are not exempt. So all of them will get facility.
Okay. And also regarding this anti-profiteering, so introduction of sunset was expected in today's meeting in the anti-profiteering provisions. Was that also discussed?
Yes, that was taken up today.
Yes, and it was decided that this will be sunset. So the last date that has been fixed for this is 1st April 25. However, the cases which have already been registered, they will continue to be heard, and they will be decided. The other decision taken in this regard is to shift from CCI, the Competition Commission of India, the hearing of these cases, to the to the GST 80 as and when it becomes functional.
Also, sir, ma'am, I would like to know about this pre-deposit new limits. So now, if someone has already paid the extra, if someone has already paid this pre-deposit according to the previous law, now will they be eligible for the extra amount they have paid for the refund?
This is prospective.
Okay, okay.
Thank you so much.
Just one information which I want to use this opportunity, because I'm before the media, and through the media I want to reassure the assessees that our intent is to make the GST assessees' life easier. We are working towards less and less compliance. I want to underline the fact on behalf of the CGST that notices are not being sent here, left, right, and center, because most often we are asked, why so many notices? Don't you know what's happening and so on? I want to use this occasion to let you know that only 1.96% of all active tax assessees have been sent any notice from the central GST. So if there are 1,14,939 active assessees, it is only to less than 2%, 1.96% assessees, 1,14,939 assessees. Less than 2% of them have been sent notices from the central GST. I want to be clear on this. Our intention is to make it easier, simpler, less cumbersome. And sooner that we talk of more and more ease of doing business, we'll follow that. And that is proven by this data, that as of 31st December 23, only 1.96% of these assessees have been sent a notice or a notice. So not beyond that. So 1.96% of the 1,14,900 number of active taxpayers here, 58,62,886. So this 1.96 is in actual number 1,14,939. All right? Clear? 1.96 is in actual number 1,14,939. So only that many have received notice. So CGST is harassing. None of that. In a large country like this, CGST has sent only this many number of notices. I want to underline the fact here. Of course, states would do their own. Each state can do their own. I'm not coming on to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.